Welcome to the New Little Life podcast. My name is Allison. I'm a lactation consultant, a breast pump expert, and a mom of 3 little boys. Here on the podcast, we talk with real moms and experts about breastfeeding and pumping. This podcast is designed to help you feel supported by other moms who are doing exactly what you're doing, to get tips and tricks on breastfeeding, and learn how to efficiently navigate pumping while going back to work. All right, welcome back to the New Little Life podcast. We are still in season 2 here, which means that we are talking to working moms. This has been a really fun thing for me. We've had some moms on here. We've had some professionals. We've had a little bit of both. It's funny when you start talking to working moms, you end up finding a lot of moms that are doing some really cool things. And Bethany today is no exception. She is a mom of 2 children, ages 7 and 2. She's also an IBCLC, which is fun. I always like it when I get to talk to professionals in this space who have actually done what we're trying to help others to. I think it brings a unique perspective on not only motherhood, but, breastfeeding. And I'll only speak for myself when I say that even as a trained professional, breastfeeding and pumping especially is not always easy. And we often have the same struggles that you do. I know I did. So I'm really looking forward to talking with Bethany today and hearing what her experience was like. So welcome to the podcast, Bethany.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Let's just jump right in and start. Tell us about your first one. What were you doing for work? What was that like? Breastfeeding? I think you went back to work after that. So let's just start there and see where we go.
Yeah. So I was working in a medical office doing some billing, coding, denials, insurance, all the fun stuff. And so I had to go back to work at 12 weeks. I say lucky, but we shouldn't have to be lucky to be able to go back at 12 weeks. But I was lucky enough to be able to take 12 weeks off. And I started back right on the dot at 12 weeks. She started daycare. So we started bottles and pumping and all of that stuff. And she was actually in the NICU for a short amount of time. She came about a month early. So my journey got started with pumping for a NICU baby and learning as I went because I had not taken a breastfeeding class or a childbirth education class. And, her crib was still not put together and all the things. So I was just winging it. And luckily I had a really supportive husband that helped with the pumping. Otherwise, I don't know that I would have continued doing that. But yeah, she went back to daycare and that brought its own set of challenges, just because for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, it is a lot easier to just nurse your baby and not have to worry about how much is coming out and all of those things. So we had a couple of hurdles because at the time I didn't know that I was allowed to have a place to pump that was not a bathroom. So I was waiting for the only single bathroom in the office to become available for me to go pump because it had a sink and a chair in there. But there were times that I pumped in a bathroom stall with my little battery pack and trying to be as clean as I could. And finally, what I was my daughter was 9 months old. They told my boss, hey, legally you have to give her a place to pump. And so they immediately found me an office. And then I kind of went through the things that I feel like a lot of people go through, like making sure you're wearing easily accessible clothing for when you're pumping because it's freezing in a medical office, and making sure you lock the doors so someone doesn't just come in while you're completely, topless if you didn't wear the right things to like that. So obviously I had some hits to my supply because for a while I wasn't pumping at similar times, or able to pump for as long as I needed to. So things got a little better after that person spoke up for me. So I'm very grateful to them.
Who was this person? Was this a coworker or a female?
Yeah, she was a coworker and she'd not been there very long, and we were doing our mid-year reviews. And she and I would eat in the break room together. And so she knew I was pumping, and she just said something, and I'm very grateful for her because I wasn't educated back then about it. I didn't know. And if it wasn't for her, I would have been pumping in the bathroom stall still and dealing with supply issues from not being able to pump when I needed to and pumping on everyone else's bathroom schedule, you know?
That's so crazy. So you didn't know. It was just you had no
No,
clue that you could ask. Do you remember asking for like where am I supposed to pump, or did you just go back and were like, I'm just gonna take care of this on my own and I'll figure it out?
I just went back, not to speak negatively about anyone else, but I worked with a lot of older women who thought that it was even weird that I was keeping my milk in the refrigerator in the break room.
Sure.
And I didn't have it out or anything, which not that it should matter. Like, just don't drink my milk. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Your lunch is in
um,
there too. This is my baby's lunch. Like it's fine.
exactly. So I did get a little like cooler thing, and so it was in a bag, but and they would make comments like, "Oh, your baby's how old, and you're still pumping? Like, you need to stop doing." So it wasn't like super supportive
Sure.
in there, and so yeah, just me not knowing the laws or even thinking to ask to me at that time, which I think is crazy now, but at that time it was like, oh, they're letting me take time to go and do this.
How nice
So,
of them. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't need to
For
push it.
sure.
You know what I mean? So I am very, very thankful to that person. She probably saved my breastfeeding journey, if I'm being honest, because I don't know that I would have been able to keep doing that. I was having supply hits and, supplementing with a little bit of formula, which is like fine, but it wasn't what I was wanting to do. And so that was taking a toll on me emotionally as well. And I think that's something that's not really talked about a lot is like the emotional aspect of that. And yeah, so I'm very thankful to her. She made things a lot easier for me.
It's crazy. I think this happens a lot. Like, and you said once she went to the employer and was like, hey, you got to find her space, they quickly did that. I think a lot
Yeah.
of employers will do that, but you do have to ask. And I think that's an important thing to note. They're not just going to, they don't necessarily know how to handle lactating women. But if you go in and say, hey, I'm pumping, I need a space to do that. I would say a lot of employers will help accommodate that. And if they won't, then you can say, well, legally you have to. And here's the law. And then they
And
definitely will.
yeah, and I think maybe like honestly, my manager probably didn't know, but like everyone in that office knew I was breastfeeding because I've never been like quiet about it. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. This is, like,
Hmm.
and so everyone knew I was breastfeeding. And that's what the lady kind of brought up. She was like, she's pumping and she's pumping in a bathroom because you haven't given her a place to pump. And they were like, oh, and she was like, yeah, and it's legally you have to give her a place to pump. And then that's kind of like
Yeah.
what jumped in them. And they were like, yes, here's this office. And so it was great to have that space, but it was also like completely across this really large building. And then I had to get in an elevator and go up to the third floor. And so like my pumping times were taking like 25 minutes just because I was having to go and do all of that. But at that time, I was just like, look, I've got a pumping space. They're letting me do this, on the clock. And I was like, I'm just going to take it and take this as a win. So,
Did you notice your supply got a little bit better once you could start pumping more consistently?
yes, more consistently and not feeling like I needed to be rushed because I could hear people like,
Oh,
turning
yeah. Hmm.
knobs, seeing if they can go in. So I didn't feel rushed. And so I was able to actually like relax and not just be like staring at the bottle and looking at how much time has passed. So that did help a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned the emotional aspect of having to supplement your baby with a little bit of formula. I'd love to dive into that. I had the same thing when I went back to work after my first. I
Yeah.
pumped and I breastfed, did all the stuff, but we did have to supplement a little bit again, which is totally fine. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I remember being really frustrated about it too. So I'd love to hear your kind of experience with that as well.
Yeah. I just, it's crazy because I did not grow up seeing other people in my family breastfeed. Like,
Mm, yeah. Hmm.
my sibling, like I am the oldest of all of my siblings, and I'm 10 years older than my youngest brothers. And my mom, we talk about it now because I mean, everything in my head is breastfeeding all the time. So,
Right. Yeah.
and she, I tried with them for a couple of weeks, but like undiagnosed tongue tie, all the things. And so she just switched to formula. She had other kids. It was easier. It was less stressful for her. She didn't know where to get help, all of the things that normally happen. And so I didn't grow up like seeing that. And so what made me decide I was going to breastfeed was like maybe a year before I got pregnant. I had started doing some research on all the things that were like in our foods and skincare and all of that stuff. And so I tried to start living like a more natural lifestyle. And so when I got pregnant, I was like, I mean, obviously, like breastfeeding, like that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to do. But I knew nothing about it, like, except that your body made milk. So going into it, that was my mindset, was like, this is why I'm doing it. But I had no idea what I was doing. I had no education on it whatsoever. And then, we got hit with an early baby and NICU and having to pump at first. And I was like, none of this is happening like I planned for it to happen. Like, it's not, I'm a planner, and that's really hard when it comes to like breastfeeding. Like, yeah, like type A does not work really well.
Yeah. It's
Breastfeeding.
definitely harder.
And so I think that's part of it too. But, after we got through those initial hurdles and once we got home from the hospital, I'm like, I'm just going to set my goal as tomorrow. Tomorrow, if I can make it till tomorrow, that's great. And then it became like a week, or once she became a month old, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do this until I go back to work. And then that came, and I decided to, keep pushing my goals further and further. And so then I just got it in my head, like, I'm also very stubborn. So like when I want to do something, like, that's not always a great trait of mine, but when I want to do something, like, I want to do it. I'm going to work to make it happen. And so I just got it in my head after those first few months, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do it at least until she's a year old. I loved doing it. She loved it. Like, it was a very emotional bonding thing for us when we were able to do it together at home, like, because after daycare all day, luckily, she did great at daycare, and the daycare workers were awesome for the most part. But then you can tell when we got back home and she got to nurse, you could like feel her little body relax, and those little eyes are rolling in the back of her head, and she's like holding onto my hair. And so it was a very emotional thing for me. And when I had to start supplementing, I was like, this is not what I wanted to do. Like, and part of it was frustration, because I knew on the weekends or holidays when we were at home together, she got everything she needed. She was satisfied. And so I was like, this is only happening while I'm away from her. And so it was emotional in that aspect. And then you start getting in your head with the mom guilt, like, I shouldn't even be working right now. I should be home with her. Like, I shouldn't be sending her to daycare for someone else to take care of her. Like, all the things we get in our heads about. And so that just really contributed to it being like a super emotional thing. And my husband, he knows more supportive things to say now, but back then he was like, well, if it's this stressful, why don't you just stop? But like, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Like
I
stop
wanted,
breastfeeding.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if it's taking this kind of toll on you and you're worried about how much you're making at work. And I was like, that's not what I want to do, though. My problem is I'm not able to get enough at work. And to add on to that, we had one of the daycare workers say that I wasn't sending her enough. Now I know I was sending her enough. But for like a week, every time my husband would go pick her up, they would be like, you got to send her more. You got to send her more. And, they weren't pace bottle feeding. They didn't realize that, babies who only get formula get a much higher volume a lot of the time than babies who are just getting breast milk. And that after a certain period, you don't have to increase breast milk and all the things that I know, but, and for a week, they were like, you have to send more. And so I was like killing myself trying to pump more.
Yeah. Like
And
actually increasing your supply, because your supply was probably
yeah,
fine, but they're
exactly.
asking for more. So we got to like, oh my
Yes.
gosh. Yes. It's
And
this downward spiral, isn't it?
yeah. And so in a week, I went from sending like 12 ounces, because she was away from me for like 8 hours, 12 ounces, to finally I got up to 16 ounces. And on that last day, I'm glad I wasn't the one that picked her up, because I would have cried. they were like, nope, this still isn't enough. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And so luckily I had a knowledgeable and supportive pediatrician. I just reached out to her and she was like, 12 ounces is plenty for her during that day. And so I put a little note inside of her lunchbox and I was like, hey,
Pediatrician says,
yeah, I
yeah.
was like, pediatrician says this is fine. This is how much we're sending her. And then I let them know about like pace bottle feeding and things like that. And then I never heard anything else. And so my stress level went down a little bit, but it was just things like that that contributed to like stress and all kinds of emotions. And so that first journey was a little bit of a doozy for me for sure.
I can relate to so many parts of that. My first was very similar. Like I actually had a problem with using the pump effectively. Like the milk was there, but I couldn't get it all out, and I could not for the life of me figure out what the heck. There was a lot of things going wrong. But same thing. I wasn't sending enough. I knew I wasn't sending enough, but oh my gosh, just and the mom guilt. I didn't like my job either. I don't know if you enjoyed where you
Oh,
were
I didn't
working,
either. I was
but
like,
that made it so much worse. Because I'm like,
yeah,
I hate being here. I hate leaving my baby. I want
yeah,
to keep breastfeeding, and I'm the same as you. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, whether
yeah,
it is easy or not. So,
yeah.
oh, but I had no help. I didn't know who to ask. I mean, it's hard, especially the first one. I'm the same as you. The second and I have three, got
Yeah.
easier each time, but that first one, and I feel like I have a my program where I work with moms is called Pumping for Working Moms, and first time moms are some of my favorite because really it is hard, and little things come up like this one week where all of a sudden you're not making enough milk. I think your first thought is like, I have low supply, so I need
Yes.
supplements and I need like cookies and like
Yes.
I got a power
All
pump
the
and stuff.
things.
But you didn't have low supply. There was another problem here, and I think that kind of having those realistic expectations whenever you combine breastfeeding and pumping, and you know this as an IBCLC and a mother as well, your supply looks different when it's managed by two different things.
Yes.
And we're not going to have like copious amounts of milk like you can if you're exclusively pumping because you have all
Right.
the control.
Exactly.
But when you're splitting it, it looks so different, and it's so
Yeah.
hard even like to increase 4 ounces in a week. Like good for you because that is
Oh,
really, really hard
I
when
was
you're
like,
breastfeeding and pumping.
yeah, I was pumping at home. I was pumping
Oh, I
between
bet you
feeding.
were.
Not to mention, like, I was totally wearing the wrong flange sizes. But back then, it came with my pump, so that's what
Same,
I knew,
same
right?
girl
Like,
did the same thing. Yep.
so I look back now and I'm like, man, things could have been so much easier if I just knew what I knew now. Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head with the like high stress, low paying job. And I was constantly like doing a budget to like figure out if I could quit this job.
Yes. I did the same thing.
Funny thing about stress is it can also mess with your milk supply. So, it was just a little fun little circle we were going in with all of those things. And second time around, it was completely different for me, which was wonderful. I was at a new job who they were very supportive of parents, and we get a lot of paid time off because at my other job, um, we had to use our own PTO time for holidays where the whole business was closed. And
Seriously? Oh my
yeah,
word.
on top of that, we didn't get a lot to begin with. And then I came back from maternity leave in October, right before all the holidays. And so that was just a mess for me. And so at this other job, like we got a lot of time off. And on top of that, we got a lot of PTO and we didn't have to use our personal time for when the business was closed. And I had my own office where I could just shut my door and pump when I needed to. But my second was born at the height of COVID. So he was born in July of 2020. And while I wouldn't say that was a good thing, we were remote for the first year.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
I got to take a regular maternity leave. So I think I only took 8 weeks off and I came back part time, but I did that voluntarily because it was remote. I could still be home
Yeah.
with him and
Mhm.
nurse him. And I think I pumped twice within his first year, maybe three times, and that was only because I was in a wedding.
Yeah.
And so I had to, but other than that, like it was great being home with him that first year. And I mean, he had lip tie and tongue tie. Like we kind of struggled in the beginning because of that kind of stuff. But I was actually waiting to take my exam to become an IBCLC, but because, COVID, that got pushed back. But I already had all of the information. And so I knew ways to help with that. And so once we got past the initial parts of that, I mean, my my pregnancy and birth were completely different because I was at home. I wasn't like at a stressful job. We weren't having to go into the office. And so all of that was significantly better. Like no NICU this time. I got to do the golden hour and nurse him right after delivery and go home and not be attached to a pump. And then when I came back to work, literally like 2 weeks after he turned a year old and he went to daycare, we didn't have to worry about bottles. I still did pump for a while to send him some breast milk because there was no reason to give him cow's milk really. He didn't like it and he was okay with breast milk. So that's what we did. And it was like a breath of fresh air. And I don't wish for like another pandemic or anything, but I wish like even if moms can't take a year off, like can we do some remote work like, and be home with our babies? Like would that be so hard now that a lot of businesses had to do that during the pandemic? So it was completely different, and I'm thankful I got to be with him all of that time because I didn't really have struggles this time, and I believe it's because I didn't have to worry about pumping at work or how much milk I was sending to daycare or pace bottle feeding or any of that. We just got to kind of bypass all of that, and he just got to nurse directly, and it was amazing.
Our time that we spent in Europe really opened my eyes to the like maternity leave system in other countries and how terrible it really is. Moms get to stay home a year, 2 years. They still get paid, by the government. I mean, their taxes are higher to accommodate stuff like that,
Yeah.
but they they just don't have these problems. And staying home for a year with your baby is amazing. And if you want more breastfed babies in the country, you have to provide that to lactating parents like you just do. So I'm right with you. I did want to ask you, did you have someone watching and caring for your baby while you worked at home, or were you doing that as well as working?
I did that for it did get more difficult towards the end when he was like walking and very active. But up until then, I had my working space where he was. And for the first few months that I was actually working, I mean, he couldn't go anywhere. So like,
Mhm.
I was able to do contact naps while I was like doing stuff on the computer or having Zoom meetings because again, like my boss and my whole team were very supportive. And then they were just
Mhm.
like, yes, if you don't show the baby in the meeting, we're going to be mad actually. So,
Oh,
I could do the contact naps. I could wear him around the house while I was doing things and I can take phone calls, and I would just kind of group things together. Like while he was napping, I would do certain things that I couldn't do while he was awake. But once he started, like crawling and climbing and walking, it became a little bit more of a challenge. And so I had to get creative with, I got him a little baby enclosure
yeah.
with
Hmm.
some toys to keep him occupied and some music for him. But yeah, at that 1 year mark, I was like, okay, we're we're gonna have to
Yeah.
figure out some childcare. And but I sent him to the daycare that my daughter went to until she went to pre-K, and he loves it there. He loves interacting with other kids. But it was really nice to have that first year. Like I wish everyone could experience that.
That's really cool. I recently put my, well, not recently, earlier, well, maybe 9 months ago, put my little 2-year-old in childcare because I work from home and it just was too difficult.
It
Um,
is.
I'm like, I can't do this. And honestly, he loves it and I love it. It's just like better for everybody. But I've always wondered, it's tricky to work at home with a baby that you're still caring for. Some of the
Yes.
moms in my program have like a nanny or in-home care where they don't have to pump as much because someone can just bring them the baby when the baby's hungry and then take the baby again after the feeding. So
Yes.
that's kind of a cool setup too. But good for you for making it work all on your own. And that's impressive.
Yeah, yeah. There were challenging days where I was like, oh man, we gotta but I mean, again, during that time, it was just kind of like the daycare was closed for a lot of that year. So things were still
Yeah.
closed. And so like I didn't really have a choice at first. And then when they opened back up, I was like, oh, we've got this. We've like we've been doing this for a while now. But yeah, after
Kind
that
of
1 year
forced to
mark,
do it. Yeah.
yeah. But after the 1 year mark where he was walking and they need 1,000% of your attention and want to interact with you, I was like, we really need to figure something out. But he loves it and he loves being around other kids. So it was a lot less stressful sending him to daycare at a year old too versus my tiny
Oh,
little
yeah.
month-old baby. So yeah, I'm not thankful for why I got to do that, but I am very thankful that I got to do that with him. It was a much better experience.
My my third baby was born August 2020, so just a month after yours. So again, height of COVID,
Yeah. Yeah.
just kind of madness around that. But we did get a lot of time at home together, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So you pumped early with your first in the NICU and then back to work. So you started probably earlier than you thought. Do you think having taken like a breastfeeding class or something would have helped you in that? Or do you think it was just it's better to learn on the fly and and go from there?
I I would 100% recommend, even if you don't know how you're going to feed your baby, if you haven't made that decision, at least take a class because there is so much to like breastfeeding and especially those first few days. Oh my gosh, like I spend more time on that talking to um clients about like because they're like my baby's starving, like even if it's just to cover like the first 2 weeks, like take a class. It'll make it easier, make sure the class covers pumping because I mean like I know there's instructions in the pump, but like I didn't even know how to put the pump together and I was so like stressed out, like overwhelmed. Like first baby, she came very unexpectedly in the NICU, and now I'm trying to like figure all of this out. Um, so yeah, he's the one that put that together for me. He would help me like wash and sterilize everything, and for the few days that we were discharged and had to go back and forth to the hospital because we lived close enough to the hospital where like I wouldn't just send milk and then stay at home for a couple of feedings. I would go every single time. So, I mean, throughout the night, I was getting up every 2.5 hours to pump, take her the milk, spend some time with her, and come back home. So yeah, I just think you're also getting instructions on how to take care of yourself because you're also like wearing a diaper when you leave the hospital.
Yeah.
And so you're getting all of these instructions on yourself and your baby, and then you're learning something new. And so I just think it would have been way less stressful if I already kind of had the upper hand and knew like, yeah, you're only going to get a little bit of, colostrum at first. And if you're having to pump that out, like get a syringe and suck it off of the thing or, hand express. I had no idea what hand expression was. Like, so I definitely recommend a class, even if you're not set on breastfeeding. I just think it opens your eyes to a lot more stuff and you're like, wow, I had no idea this was even a thing. Like I wish I would have taken one.
I like how you phrase that. It kind of gives you like an upper hand. I like to
Yeah.
use the analogy of trying to learn how to ride a bike before you actually get your bike. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense because you've never like touched a bike before, but at least knowing like how it works and the general concepts, when you finally get that little baby in your arms, you kind of at least know some of the basics. You're not like totally deer in the headlights with that.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for pumping. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of pumping
Yeah.
information out there. And because you're recently trained as an IBCLC, you don't get instruction on pumping. Like
No.
LCs are breastfeeding experts. And so to find someone with pumping, either personal experience or experience working with clients can be tricky. But especially before you go back to work, I don't know where your clients come from, but I tend to get a mixture of some coming before they go back to work and then some coming to me after when stuff is like crashing and burning hard. And I always prefer the ones that pop in a little like on their maternity leave because at least we
Yeah.
can get the basics and you might not have to crash and burn like a lot of pumping working moms do. It's hard. Even if you got it at home, pumping at work is different. Like you mentioned, like maybe you're on the clock and you're
You don't,
stressed.
yeah, you don't think about certain things until you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot a pump part. What do I do? Like,
Yeah.
or, oh my gosh, I wore the wrong, like I wore a dress today and I'll have to get completely naked in this office. Like,
Or my schedule
uh,
is totally different and I can't fit it in these meetings. How do I adjust for the day? I don't know. It's a lot.
and I've learned, which, I had my own personal experience, which has helped in my career as a lactation consultant, but I, you're not really trained a whole lot on
Mm.
pumping to be a lactation consultant, and I took like a deep dive into pumps this last year or so when I opened my practice because that's a large part of it is working moms or that have to pump at some point, and then you're kind of going up against like social media and people showing these huge freezer stashes and they're like, I don't make that much milk, and I'm like, let's have a talk. You do not need that much milk. Like, that is great for them, but that is not, that's not it may be common, but it's not like quote unquote normal, like your body is supposed to make what your baby needs, not a huge amount to fill a deep freezer in your garage.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I battle a lot is how do I make that much milk? And I'm like, look, let's work on a pumping plan so that you can slowly save up just the milk that you need, and learning about different pumps and how to size flanges. And like, people don't know that. I didn't know that as a lactation consultant. And then you get
Yeah.
into this field and you're like, wow, okay, yes, I need to figure this out. Like,
Yeah,
so
because your lactate, if someone has problems with lactation, they go to a lactation consultant. Like there's nobody that is appropriately trained on pumping, but so many moms are doing this. Like
yes,
everyone's
exactly.
getting a breast pump from their insurance for the most part. And we have tons of working moms. It just almost everybody is using a pump. I saw a statistic the other day, I can't even remember, but it was like 80%, 85% or something use a pump at some point in their breastfeeding journey. I'm like, that sounds right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so I'm taking a deep dive on that because I had my own personal knowledge, but I also had only used one kind of pump. Like, so
Yeah,
know all these other pumps. And so that's what I've really been using my continuing education on this year.
that's awesome. Yeah. I see that a lot on Instagram too. Like I follow lots of moms who are like pumping experts sharing stuff on pumping and stuff. But sometimes I'm like, oh man, you really are basing this on your one particular experience
Yeah.
and not like the vast array of normal that we see from lactating moms. So I think, just be cautious of who you follow. I follow them all too, and I love them. They make hilarious reels and they post, stuff like tips and tricks. And I'm like, that's a great idea. But
Yeah.
also just, be cautious of sometimes when you get untrained people sharing tips and stuff, which honestly is a lot of LCs too, because we don't get any training on pumping.
Yes.
Take everything with a grain of salt and use your own mother's intuition to, is
Yeah.
this going to work for me? Does this make sense in my life? And kind of in that lens.
That too, because then you see people like, oh, I don't pump that much out of, and I'm like, it's okay. Is it your supply is probably fine. Like, everyone's like different, and this is just a snapshot of their day also. And yeah, so you see them like comparing themselves to this one person, and the person's got like a million followers, and I'm like, oh no. Like,
Which is
uh,
great. I love to see so much more like awareness and support for the variety of ways that we're feeding breast milk to our children. Like, I think it's a wonderful thing. But I think, don't get sucked into that one thing that you saw from a mom who did this once or twice herself
yeah.
and be like, or a lactation consultant who does mostly breastfeeding stuff, like even me, sometimes I post stuff and I'm like, if this doesn't work in your life or with your situation, this is not like the gold standard, like just,
I
it's
always
just an
put a
idea.
Yeah, in my caption, I always put a disclaimer like everyone is different, and if this is not working for you and you have any questions, please reach out because
I know.
like every mom and baby is so different, and you don't really realize that unless you're working in this field and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't going to work for you. Let's try this.
I know it
Um,
sounds so cliche to say that, but once you're in the field, you're like, but we mean it. Like it's never the same.
Yes,
Oh, so
exactly.
funny.
I know social media is a blessing and a curse sometimes, but I do enjoy. I have learned a lot of things, and then I've come across a lot of things that I'm like, oh, that's not entirely correct. But I have learned quite a few hacks that I've been able to share with clients, and I'm like, yeah,
Those are my
learn that off of TikTok.
those are my favorite too. When I'm like, that's a good idea. I did not think of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, as we kind of wrap up our chat today, is there anything you'd like to leave for, specifically working moms who are combining breastfeeding and pumping? Any advice or words of wisdom or just anything at all?
Yeah. I know it's hard if you're having to pump and send milk for your baby if you're not getting what your baby needs to take, and it sounds very cliche, um, but your worth is not determined by how much milk you make. And, um, reach out. There's people out there there's professionals out there that can help you, that are trained in this. But yeah, your worth is not how much you're pumping out. And if something's not working, um, there are people out there that can help you, or if you just need support, and no judgment, because we're moms too, and we've likely been through some kind of hurdle. But yeah, I think we get stuck on our plans and things that we want, and it's really hard, not to use the word failure with a lot of things. So yeah, just try not to get so caught up in the ounces, and reach out when you need it. There's tons of help out there, tons of professionals, like us who can help, and or even just give you reassurance if you feel like something's not working. And don't be afraid to pivot. Like you mentioned, there's a million ways to feed your baby now, and there's not just one like right way. There's all kinds of combinations that you can do. So we're here.
I love it. There's someone, and find someone that does what you do. You know what I mean? Find someone that if you're in the NICU, those IBCLCs at the hospital probably can help you really well. They do this all day, every day. So
Yeah.
reach out to them. A little bit later on, those ones that do home visits and things like that are great because they're dealing with those issues a little bit later on. And if you need some help
Exactly.
with pumping, find someone that has experience in pumping and ask them. Like, I think you
Yeah,
should be asking your professionals, do you have experience in this? Do you do this often? Not just
absolutely.
like an extra thing that you say, like, I do everything, find someone that does specifically what you need and don't be
Mhm.
afraid to kind of shop around. Was terrible, but it also really opened our eyes to the virtual world. You can find what you need,
Yeah.
even if it's not in your area.
No, you're right. Definitely like some, lactation consultants are not going to be for you. And it's okay to say, hey, this isn't working. Like, I'm not afraid to be like, I'm not super strong in this area, but I have a list of other
Love that.
lactation
So do
consultants,
I. Same thing.
and I'm not
Yep.
afraid, and I feel like most of us are like that. Like, hey, we're not just trying to like keep all the clients for ourselves. Like, no, you need help with this. This is not my strong suit. So let me get you to someone who I know can help you, because this is what they really dig into every day. So
I'm
that's
the
great
same
advice.
way. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your chat today, Bethany. I will put links to connect with both of us down in the chat so anyone listening can find you and I there and you just kind of see if this resonated with you or something you're like, that's the thing I needed and you want more help. Reach out to either of us. We're here. I love this community and I love it when I find professionals that are also, recent moms and can really speak to both sides of the coin. So thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you for having me.